and welcome to the Dublin Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Giles, as always. On tonight's show, Monday, April 15th, we'll be reviewing our latest Premier League fixture versus Unai and Emery's Aston Villa side at the Emirates Stadium yesterday. Mention an event that's happening on Friday, August the 9th in Dublin. Elevate Events presents an exclusive event featuring Liam Brady, Paul MERSON and Ray PARLOUR at the Clayton Hotel, Burrington Road, Friday the 9th of August. Shout out to our friends at Pepsi, Thirsty for More. On tonight's show, I'm joined by the North Bank Summit host and Arsenal fan Liam Gardner. How are you, pal?
Yep, good evening, Jonathan. Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks for coming along to another show.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, and good work on your own show, the North Bank Summit. Are you having a show this week, Liam?
Yeah, we've got a show tomorrow night, funny enough, 8:30. Yeah, so yeah, got a show tomorrow night.
Lovely. And it's always on a Thursday night as well. Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch and listen. North Bank Summit. I'm also joined by another lifelong Arsenal fan. It's been a while since you've been on, Brendan. Brendan Boyle, how are you?
Not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. Lovely to be back.
It's a real privilege to be on the show. You can see by Brendan's expression how happy he is to be on. On tonight's show, we'll be reviewing, as I said, our defeat yesterday at the Emirates 2-0 to our former manager, Unai Emery. 2-0 it was. Goals by Leon Bailey and Ollie Watkins in the 84th and 87th minutes. Killed the game off for us, sadly. It's our first defeat since New Year's Eve, since we lost in the Premier League to Fulham. And it ends an impressive run of games in the Premier League. A few notes I've made from the game myself. Trossard's shot in the first half was well saved by defeat of our former goalkeeper, Emiliano Martinez, who had a decent enough game, I thought. That's 2 clean sheets from him in the 2 games, home and away. It's very rare a team does a back-to-back on us, so hats off to Emery. The first warning sign was really in the first half as well, when Gabriel's misplaced pass went to Ollie Watkins and he hit the post and was probably unlucky not to score, but that was the first real warning sign from Villa. I thought this was probably our poorest home performance of the season. In the second half then, Yuri Tillemans hit an absolute belter off the crossbar and came back off the post as well. Unlucky not to score, and that was another warning sign for us. Jesus had a shot beaten away by Martinez then. I thought the centre-back pairing, as I was saying to Liam before we came on air, of Pau Torres and Diego Carlos, was very like our own Gabriel and Saliba. Thought they'd done really well to snuff out Jesus all day. In terms of their first goal, Dingler's cross evaded Gabriel and David Raya. I think it was Pau Torres was trying to get on the end of the cross, but it somehow went across the face of the goal, and there was the substitute Leon Bailey to slot home. A poor goal to concede, but I thought we looked very leggy, from the performance we put against Munich. We put a lot of energy in that game. We looked a bit leggy, I thought, and obviously we were chasing the game at 1-0, and 3 minutes later the ball over the top by Tillemans led to Ollie Watkins 1-on-1 with Smith Rowe. I thought Smith Rowe nearly had done enough to get the ball, to block it, but he done well to shove aside Smith Rowe and lob David Raya for the second goal, and that was really it. A defeat after seeing Liverpool losing 1-0 against Palace earlier on in the day. It was a big chance for us to take advantage and go top, with a chance that's lost now, sadly. City 73 points now, and ourselves and Liverpool tied on 71 points each. The only thing, Reid Paul Merson said at full time, it's over, but I think we're still pretty much in it. I think with Man City playing in the FA Cup semi-final at the weekend gives us a chance to go top if we beat Wolves on Saturday evening. Psychologically that could mean, the world to the players, and hopefully we put in a decent performance on Wednesday in the second leg against Munich. But I'll come to you, Liam Gardner. You were at the game yesterday. What was your take on the whole 90 minutes?
Yeah, I'll be totally honest. I knew it'd be a tough game yesterday. We knew it was going to be hard just for the fact that you got a former Arsenal manager turning up, you got a former Arsenal goalkeeper turning up. It was always, for me, going to be a really, really tough game. I just think that this performance that happened yesterday is common theme, and it's happened over a few years now. When we get to the business end of the season, I remember Brighton last year. I think Brighton have done it to a couple of times. I remember Crystal Palace under Emery. So yeah, do you know what? It's gone on for quite a few years. We get to April, we get out of the international break, and we just seem to kind of. It's like the pressure gets to us and it kills us. And I think the biggest issue is if we don't score within the first 20 minutes of that game, then we get very anxious. You could tell that the crowd was very anxious yesterday. It might not come across it on a screen, and it might come across that the atmosphere wasn't great yesterday, which it probably wasn't. But there was a lot of anxiety in that crowd yesterday, and I think that stems from probably we've been here before, we've seen it before, and we hadn't scored in the first 20-25 minutes, and yeah. We should have been at least one up at half time. I know Ollie Watkins has had that great opportunity, but we had 14 shots in the first half, and we need to do better, to be done better. But I don't think none of us expected that second half to pan out how it did. I agree that we were legged, but they'd only played 3 days before in the Europa Cup. The Conference League. They're playing a team in Lille that have obviously got a European pedigree. So. It weren't like the opposition. We're not going to be legged themselves. I do think potentially maybe we underestimated them in terms of Douglas Luiz being out, and maybe that might have been part of the reason we pushed Havertz back into centre midfield. I just think that it didn't work out yesterday for quite a few reasons, and it's a very, very disappointing result. But I do agree with you. I know Paul Merson's come out and said that it's over, but there's no way with 6 games to go when it's just a 2-point deficit and we got the goal difference at the moment that I'm going to say it's over and we can't do it. Our fixtures don't look good. Our fixtures do look tough, but at the end of the day, you've got to go out and actually at least push Man City to the final day. And even if we don't win the Premier League again this year, we're playing a massive juggernaut in terms of Man City. Just push them this year. Just try and push them to the very last day. Do you know what I mean? That would be then seen. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to see it again as a failure. But if we can push them to the last day, then do you know what? I'd be much happier that way than just kind of peter out and just admit defeat just because Paul Merson said so. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I don't agree with that. All it takes is for Man City to have a bad day. If you look at the fixtures at the moment, everyone's playing every 3 to 4 days. It was going to be hard. It was going to be tough. We're not used to playing in the Champions League, so we're not used to playing to a team at the level of Bayern Munich for the last 4 to 5 years. You're trying to play all these big games in 3 to 4 days. Something was going to give. And you just don't know, do you? Like Man City got to play Real Madrid again this week. I think it's worked out nicely for Man City, if I'm being totally honest with you, that they got the FA Cup game at the weekend. I'd rather had them to have another Premier League game at the weekend. But they've still got to ram in them games. If they get to the Champions League semi-final, then they're going to continue to play every 3 to 4 days. And this Man City squad, it's strong, but it's not as strong as it was last year.
Yeah, you make a good point there as well. Liam, their next game is away to Spurs, and after Villa winning there at our own, Tottenham want that 4th place because the 5th place isn't assured for Champions League and because of Germany, the team's doing so well in Germany. Do you think do you think Spurs will put it up to them at White Hart Lane? You know, because the side of football we saw at the Etihad, it was a 3-3 draw there, and they gave City a good game. Do you think it'd be as tough?
Yeah, I don't think no Premier League. Like, I know it's the rivalry. I know it's Arsenal Tottenham, but at the end of the day, Tottenham, whatever Big Ange says about top four, he wants top four. He needs to.
Yeah.
He basically. Any manager who says he don't care about top four is just basically trying to take the pressure off his players. They all need to win that. They all need to go and win that game. And yeah, the fans might not want them to win it because obviously it could put us into a situation. But at the end of the day, I don't believe that Tottenham as a club and a team will go out there to lose a game. And they've got a pretty good record over Man City. So Man City do struggle against Spurs. Even if it's a draw, it's 2 points dropped, isn't it? If we were to win the next 6 Premier League games, for example, and they win 5 and draw 1, then it goes down to goal difference.
Yeah, which is a distinct possibility. Yeah. In terms of the 2 goals, before I come on to yourself, Brendan, were you disappointed with the 2 goals we conceded, considering how well defensively we've been playing over as of late? They were 2 bad goals, weren't they?
Yeah. Very poor goals, but you know what? As the game got on, there was only going to be one winner in that game, in my opinion. Aston Villa were absolutely superb in that second half. They absolutely dominated that second half. We didn't know what to do. Arteta's substitutions were very strange, to say the least. Was crying out for a Thomas Partey. Now, I don't know the situation with Partey, but if he's on the bench, then I expect that he should be able to come on in the game. And I don't know what the reasons are, but Arteta decided not to bring him on. I think he would have been, for me, the standout player to bring on in the 70th minute, maybe like he did against Manchester City. Is he holding back for Wednesday? I don't know, but in my opinion, Thomas Partey needs to be playing football. But if he doesn't start Wednesday night, then I don't see that he's going to play for the rest of the season, personally. So yeah, the goals were poor. Zinchenko, for me, if you start him, you need to be taking him off after 70 minutes. And yet again, he's not totally to fault, but he is at fault as part of a collective. And I wouldn't have him on in games, especially tight games with 15, 20 minutes to go. I would have got Kourour on defensively to kind of shore it up a little bit. If you're not going to win the game, like Declan Rice said, at least try and get a point out of it. And there were 2 very, very poor goals, but I can't argue with the result. Aston Villa were a much better team in the second half, and they totally deserved it. And Ollie Watkins' second goal, what can I say? Unbelievable finish. But let's be honest, I thought it was half-hearted from Smith Rowe. I was being totally honest. Yeah. Maybe that's me being harsh, but if that was Ben White, I was thinking if that was Ben White after what he did with Sane, it would have been a totally different outcome. But you shouldn't be relying on Emile Smith Rowe to be the last man back anyway.
No, it was quite disappointing. Yeah, but Ollie Watkins, he's been a top striker this season, hasn't he? 19 league goals, and he'd be a striker that I love at the club. I think he'd suit very well at Arsenal. But what Paul Merson said as well was odd not having Jorginho starting, because that type of game would have suited the likes of Trossard and Jesus to come off the bench to cause damage, So if it ain't broke, why, and he made a good point. He done that last season as well, and it kind of backfired as well. I'll come on to you, Brendan. You've been waiting a while on the bench there. What did you make of the 90 minutes as a whole? Poor performance, or do you think Villa got their tactics against the spot on?
You know what? I've heard everyone going on about how it was a tactical masterclass, this, that, and the other, which I think is absolute garbage, because in that first half, I thought that was probably the best first half we've played all season. The football was electrifying. It was amazing. There was no end product. Well, there was end product, but it wasn't. We didn't score out of it, but it just looked like the lads were at the top of their game. Absolutely, like Odegaard, unplayable. And I just thought, look, it's a matter of time. They keep going like this. Villa couldn't touch them. They couldn't lay a glove on them. And then obviously second half, which probably turns out as to our worst half of the season. So you've got your best half and your worst half combined. But I couldn't fathom out what had happened. And I've been saying, like, all the games that I've been to, all the games I've watched, and I said our team is probably the fittest in the league. They are going 100 miles an hour for 95, 100 minutes across the course. And, you know, I didn't think they looked too tired. They just they ran out of ideas. And that was it. And talking about Smith Rowe being half-hearted, you're probably right. But again, where were our two centre halves? There's a ball cut out from Jorginho on their full back line, and long ball over the top, no defenders to be seen. And I don't know what that was about. And I would agree, if you're not going to win a game, don't lose it. But the problem is, this team still has those performances in them. They're not quite the finished article yet. So, look, it's disappointing, but the big thing will be how they respond to it. Because, like, obviously, we all know what happened last year, but I know there was injuries to play their part in that as well. But if, for example, Bayern Munich's going to be a big ask, but they're still good enough to get a result in Germany. But Wolves, if they turn up at Wolves and get turned over, then that's them finished. Right? But I'm hoping that's not going to happen. I think they're just going to. Well, I'm hoping they'll just brush themselves down and go again, and push City right to the very end, and Liverpool, obviously, if they'll keep going too. But again, I'll go back. I don't think it was a masterclass by Emery by any means, because they could have been 2-3-0 down at half time, and then nobody was having this conversation. I think they got really lucky, and they played Arsenal on the break, and like their first goal was poor defending, poor goalkeeping, leaving a man free at the back post. Again, I'd agree with what was said previously on the substitutions, or even the starting lineup. I didn't really understand it, but at the same time,
what do you think that was, Brendan? Sorry, do you think he underestimated Villa? Maybe that we were going to get the win regardless of the.
Quite possibly, but like at the same time, we have, with the exception of Timber, we've got a full squad. So that's his squad. He thinks his players are good enough to beat anybody, and that 11 that started should have been more than good enough to beat Aston Villa. Like I think the biggest issue, like I know everyone's jumping on Zinchenko and stuff, but I don't think it. Like, obviously, he made a few mistakes, but I thought Jesus was horrendous. The worst game I've seen him play.
Yeah,
he didn't look up for it. He wasn't putting himself about enough, and defending starts from the front. And as I say, I'll go back to the second goal. It's cut out on the edge of their 18-yard box, and the next thing, they just hit us completely on the break, completely out of shape. So yeah, Jesus worried me. Again, I think he's been good coming off the bench. I know he's still carrying that knee injury and stuff, but that's what I would like to have seen. Just kept us more or less in the shape we have been in. But like, I would have started Thomas Partey yesterday if he was going to make some changes. And I would agree with that. He's a player that needs games, because he's been coming on for cameo roles here and there and hasn't looked good at all. But I think you've got a game if you're gonna rotate, start him. You can always take him off if he's not performing. But look, it's one of those. It's disappointing. I'll hark back to 1989, where we got beat by Derby and drew with Wimbledon, and everybody thought that was the league gone then. So we were still in it. We kept ourselves in it to go to Anfield. 2 points isn't that much. As you're saying, if City draw a game and we win, we go back above them on goal difference. So I'm keeping positive, and I have my fingers and toes crossed. So hopefully we won't capitulate like we did last year.
Do you, as I said to Liam earlier on, from what Paul Merson was saying, Kodo Torre was actually beside him in the studio. Kodo was very upbeat. He thinks we still have a good chance because he was part of the invincible team. But do you agree, Brendan, that Paul Merson saying it's over? If it was any other team, but City, do you think realistically there's still a chance?
Well, realistically, there is a chance, and mathematically, there's a chance. Until there isn't a chance, there is a chance. So I can see what Paul Merson was going on about, and my 12-year-old was sitting next to me in tears yesterday, so he'd given up as well. So yeah, you can't give up. You have to keep going because, as you say, I know we thought City wouldn't win all their games last year, and they did. But I think, well, you just have to keep going. And I know we need them to slip up, but they've got a lot of tough games. We got a lot of tough games. So as long as we've got a chance, we have to hope. And I hope I know the players and Arteta will be exactly the same. And look, we're still there. You know, if somebody had told you at the start of the season this is where we would be, you'd have bitten their hand off for it. So we've got a tough run in, but we've got every chance of winning. So just keep going, and hopefully the big man upstairs is smiling down on us.
I think what the most annoying part was, and as Paul Merson said as well, it was Liverpool slipping up earlier on in the day to Palace, and I think it probably played on the players' minds as well. That might have done us in a negative way. The pressure was on us to capitalise, and Villa knew that if we had beaten them, it was game on. And it's like everything, as you said, Brendan and Liam, when you're coming up against your ex-manager and you've got ex-players in the squad as well, they're out to put on a show, aren't they? You know.
Absolutely. It's the hope that kills you, Jonathan.
Yeah, it is. The same in Dundee. We don't support her, so we care about them. It's worse than looking after a child, you know, because you just constantly lay it down. Our run-in stands like this, to all the listeners and viewers. I'm sure you've been looking at the fixture list over and over. It's Wolves on Saturday at 7:30 away. We won 2-1 there at home at the beginning of December. Gary O'Neill has done a top job there, and that won't be an easy game neither. It's Chelsea then, sorry, next Tuesday. They're giving Everton a bit of a thumping there tonight. But they play in the FA Cup semi, don't they, against Man City, Chelsea. So hopefully a bit of energy. Hopefully that goes all the way to extra time and maybe penalties, and they could play faithful. We always done well against Chelsea at home. I can't see it being too much of a problem. You know, Chelsea are very open to conceding a lot of goals, but you know, the business end of the season, you know, it's another London derby is always tough. It's Spurs then, the Sunday, April 28th. I think that's a 2:00 kickoff. And then it's Bournemouth at home. It may bank holiday weekend. Man United is the following Sunday. Then we end with Everton. You never know. Everton might have something to play for if they're stuck on the very last day in the relegation. With those set of fixtures remaining, Liam, would you be optimistic that we'd get 18 from possible 18 points?
It's going to be ongoing. There's no doubt about it. Do you know what I mean? Like when I looked at the pictures before the Aston Villa game, obviously Aston Villa was one of the games that I was looking at. We do need to win, so we can slip up. It's going to be elsewhere. I think, as kind of Brendan said, like you just got to keep going and just look, hope that the man above is looking down at you and saying, "You know what? This is your year." I think if I look at the game, if I look at every game, I can give you a reason why it's going to be so tricky. So when you look at Wolves Saturday, you're coming back from Munich. We don't know what's going to happen in Munich yet. We could go to 120 minutes ourselves. Now that becomes a bit of a nightmare situation for us if we do go to 120 minutes and a penalty shootout, because obviously the turnaround is then going to Wolves on a Saturday night from a Wednesday night. So that worries me. Obviously Chelsea, we know that they're a hot and cold team, but they have turned up against the bigger teams this year. They picked up points at Man City, home and away. So you can't just assume that we're going to go and beat them. So that, and they're a major rival. So it'll be a big game that night. Then obviously the biggest game is Tottenham. Now, if you say to me, if you said to me now, look, we're going to go and beat Wolves, we're going to beat Chelsea, and we're going to beat Tottenham, I think we're in a really good situation then, because I think Man City will be above Man City. They've still got to play the games, and then that puts pressure on them, and it means that they've got to go out to. And the other thing that a lot of people won't mention is both Liverpool and Man City have got to play 4 away games, and only 2 home games. So they've got to go away 4 times. So they're not going to have their crowd, and the crowd's going to be against them. So anything can happen. So Brighton's not going to be an easy game for Man City. Tottenham won't be an easy game for Man City. They've got to go to Fulham as well. Well, Fulham have upset a few good teams this year. Got another good result yesterday at West Ham. So they can do it on their day. And Nottingham Forest are going to be battling for survival. So that's 4 games there and there that could be tricky games for Man City. So, yeah, I think we've definitely got to win 5 out of 6. We've definitely got to win 5 out of 6. And if we win 6 out of 6, I think there's a very good chance we can still win it.
Yeah, because you were on our show, I think it was around January, Liam, and it's when we went on that run of forms. Remember, you says if we win up to the Newcastle game, and we ended up going on to a run of form. So anytime we've had you on, we've gone on a run of form of 6 games. So hopefully you're the lucky charm.
Well, hopefully that happens. But I just look at myself. I just look at little spots of games. So what I'm looking at now is the next 3 games. I'm just looking at Wolves, Chelsea, Tottenham. If we get 9 points out of 9, absolutely superb at that point, because then we got Bournemouth at home. Not saying we all know what happened at Bournemouth last year at home, so it's not a gimme. But you'd like to think then we'd be going to United pretty much on a run. But we got to go and do it. And like you said, we just need to put our heads down and not give up, and not just assume that it is over, because anything can happen. An injury could happen to Man City. They could get a red card in a game. Then it all turns, don't it?
Yeah, like what City said in all competitions, and with them, their eyes on 3 competitions now. And there's when they just looking at their bench down, they can rest Rodri, Phil Foden at the weekend, and still beat at Luton 5-1. And like Kovacic is starting to come up with goals now. It's a bit of a worrying sign. But before we came on air, myself and Liam were discussing Pep Guardiola. He's so good at getting his team focused from March onwards. It's just like a well-oiled machine, isn't it? It's like they program themselves. Come March, this is where we shoot on, and we're just not at that stage yet. But coming on to you, Brendan, with those 6 games, as Liam was saying, can you see yourself getting, if not maximum points, near enough to maximum points?
But we have to be honest.
Yeah.
Last year on the run-in, I think like 8 or 9 games to go. I remember like putting something up about it being like 8 cup finals, and I can't remember exactly how badly we did, but there was a lot of so-called easy games there, and we lost. So I think when we're playing the bigger teams, we play better, and we seem to be psyched up for it. You look at the games that we've lost all season. There's your Fulhams, your West Hams, Villa. Every game. Okay, Newcastle shouldn't have lost, but all these games are games against teams that we should be beating. And then when we come up against the better teams, like I'd say our record against the top 6 is phenomenal. So hopefully, we do have a lot of tough games. But they'll be right up for it against Spurs. They'll be right up for it against Chelsea and Man United. It's the Wolves, or as Liam was saying, we know what happened against Bournemouth last year, and we just scraped through that. But look, we can beat anyone on our day, and I think I said earlier we do have a little faux pas every now and again, and that's in our locker at the moment. But hopefully that's done and dusted, and we can move on and really give it socks and go for it, because that's, if you don't go for it, there's no point. So I know they'll be upset, especially with what with the Liverpool result. But on another day, we could have been 2 or 3 up, and and then we're full steam ahead. But I think 5 wins and a draw will be fantastic. But yeah, I prefer 6 wins, obviously. And we can beat everybody. But we need to get our heads right and stop with the sloppiness and losing shape and stuff like that. That's our biggest downfall, I think, and that showed yesterday.
Yeah, with another big game coming up now, obviously aside from the second leg, our next Premier League game is next Saturday against Wolves, 7:30. Sky Sports has this one as well. Gary O'Neill has done a fantastic job there at Wolves. You know, he has them pretty much safe there. You know, probably done to finish mid-table, maybe a bit above. They've got good players like Ruben Neves, Pedro Neto, and Mateus Cunha. Molineux is a tough place to go to. I know we won 2-0 last season. Martin Odegaard got a couple there, and we won, as I said, at home. And when you're at the top, these teams have nothing to play for. They're out to get you, aren't they, to stop you in your tracks. Do you feel, Brendan, do you think this could be, you know, it'd be a tricky game, but do you think we've enough quality to see the game through? If, as Liam says, if the game on Wednesday goes to, say, penalties, do you think there'd be, you know, enough quality to see through?
But of course, like we're playing 2 games a week, more or less all season now. I know we've had big breaks in between where we went to Dubai and stuff like that, but they will know that they've got to play this game on Saturday evening after Wednesday, no matter what happens. So yeah, they'll be prepared. They will be conditioned for it. It's not like 2 games in 2 days. They've still got a couple of days rest. So they're professionals. He's got his squad. And that's probably what he was doing with the squad at the weekend. Those players were, as I said previously, were good enough to beat Villa. So whoever he puts out will be good enough to beat Wolves. They just have to go and do it. Whether they play 120 minutes and penalties in Munich or not. So whatever happens with the Bayern Munich game, they have to brush themselves down and they have to go again. Because if we're still in Europe, fantastic after Wednesday night, but we've still got a chance of winning the league. So you've got to go again for the league. If we're out, then we have to go for the league. So you've got to go 100% still. So it's whoever he plays, the squad is his. They're good enough. They're better than Wolves. Even with a second string, they're still better players than Wolves are. Yeah. So
yeah, that's a big difference. Yeah.
That's it. We have to win it.
Yeah, I think where last season, as you said, Brandon, we slipped up in April. You know, we got 2 or 3 draws in a row, and that was, you know, there was one game when we drew 3-3 against Southampton. That was one that got away from us, you know. And I think where this season we've got 2 leaders now, one in Martin Odegaard, but more importantly, a second in Declan Rice to, you know, drive that dressing room on. You know, you could see how disheartened he was in that post-match interview. You know, I think looking at Declan Rice, that result yesterday will have hurt that team. You know, you could see at full time their heads just drop. But I think it happened probably with 6 games to go. I think it might happen at a good time. You know, enough time to regroup and get the heads back in the game again. Maybe he did one eye on Wednesday night, which, you know, it's an easy distraction to have. But I think for the next 6 games, we have to respect the opposition now, you know, and, you know, every one of those teams that we're playing now have something to play for, which is another side, along with City and Liverpool. Liam, do you see any problems on Saturday evening against Wolves?
I think we should go and beat Wolves, 100%. I do agree that we've got a much better team than them. And if we turn up on the evening, then we should go and beat them. But we've got to turn up and do it. Do you know what I mean? We can't feel sorry for ourselves. Whatever happens on Wednesday night, we can't go to Wolves and feel sorry for ourselves. Because the moment we start feeling sorry for ourselves, the game becomes a much harder game. A decision goes against us, heads start chopping, and then we'll start seeing last season all over again. So yeah, but I think what we just got to do now is just take one game at a time. And like at the moment, it's not about Wolves, is it? It's about Bayern Munich on Wednesday night. A game where it's a great opportunity for us to not only get to a Champions League semi-final, but to get some really big confidence back into that team. If we go and beat Bayern Munich on Wednesday night in Germany, that's massive. That's massive. It's not just massive in terms of the rest of the season that we might be able to go and win the Champions League or win the Premier League from it, but it's massive that we've gone to a big club in Europe and gone and beat them in their own backyard to progress. And these guys need to go there Wednesday night and relish it, basically. Do you know what I mean? Don't fear them. Don't fear them, because I won't want to start fearing them. You look at this Man City team, they won't go to Bayern Munich and fear anyone. They'll go there and play football. And that's what we need to do on Wednesday night. We need to go there with our team and go and play football and go and play to our strengths. And you never know. You never know what can happen in football. Like, apparently, Sane's injured. We don't know yet. Coleman's apparently a doubt, massive doubt as well. Gnabry's out. Davis is out. They could be some big players they've lost there. And we got the defence on Wednesday night. I think we'll see a totally different performance from them Wednesday night. I think what we'll see Wednesday night is a proper away performance. And I'm more comfortable with us away from home at the moment, because I think we're set up so much better. I think it suits the team so much better. I think when we're on the front foot and teams are sitting deep at the Emirates, I think we struggle at times. We see it against Brentford. We see it against Aston Villa, where we're going to go to Munich. Munich are going to come out at us, so we're going to be able to exploit areas. So it is a very 50-50 game for me. I'd say it's slightly in their favour because they're at home, but I think the boys just need to go out there and relish it Wednesday night, and you never know.
Yeah, the unfair is giving away a penalty and Harry Kane stepping up and finishing. Harry Kane is the player in my mind that could ruin that dream for us. He's just that good. But Bayer Leverkusen winning the league now, you fear Munich. The grit is in their teeth now, but as you said, a few injuries, and that all upsets their game plan as well, doesn't it? Because Tuchel, more than likely, he's going to be gone at the end of the season, so he might want to end on the high. But the most frustrating thing I think about last Tuesday's result was the 2 goals we gave away. Just sloppy, the forcing from Gnabry and then that penalty. And to be honest, the elbow from Kane should have been possibly even, it should have been a red card in Gabriel, but we had the character to come back for that equaliser, and that key word is character. It's what Mikel Arteta has built, hasn't it? We're seeing over the last 5 years now under him, there's a character there, isn't there, Liam? And hopefully, as you said, there's that never say die spirit now till the end of the season.
We've gone to Anfield. We've got a point. We've gone to Man City. We've got a point. So we've gone to potentially two of the big clubs in Europe at the moment. If Liverpool win the Champions League this year, they'll probably be in the quarterfinals with us at the moment. Do you know what I mean? They'll probably be one of the top. They'll probably be the second or third favourites, if we're being frankly honest. So it's not like we don't know how to go to these clubs now and play. Well, obviously in the back end of the Arsene Wenger years, we'd go to like Liverpool and get rolled over quite comfortably and just continue to play our pretty style of football, which was nice on the eye, but we didn't have no substance to kind of grain out results. We've got that now. We've got that in abundance, and the guys need to just sit there and look at the Man City game, the Liverpool game, and say, we can go there. We can go and keep a clean sheet. Do you know what I mean? We can do that. So why can't we go to Bayern Munich? We went to Liverpool. I don't see really, apart from their 2 wingers. Like, are they massively much tougher than going to Tottenham? Probably not. Do you know what I mean? But we went to Tottenham last year and won 2-0. We kept Harry Kane quiet. Yeah. So let's do it again. Do you know what I mean? Let's keep him quiet. Like, he always gets his token penalty at the Emirates. We know that he'll get that penalty at North Bank every single time. But we need to just forget about that now. It's not about playing Harry Kane. It's about playing Bayern Munich, and just, you know what? Just go out there and just do what you've been doing this season away from home. And I think we've got a chance. I do. I really think we've got a chance.
Brandon, it was disappointing to get the draw at the Emirates. It would have been nice to have a bit of a cushion going to Allianz Arena on Wednesday against Munich. But do you see a big performance from the lads to get us through to the semi-final?
Well, they'll need a big performance to get through, of course. But the one thing I've noticed, and like, it's only our first year back in the Champions League, and it's really shown our inexperience all the way through. Like, we got beat by Lens. We just about scraped through against Porto with two rather iffy performances. And again, I was at the Bayern Munich game, and I thought we were average for long periods, and that wasn't how I expected us to play against them. And I was really disappointed. But again, it's understandable. They're young players. I don't think the formation, like Declan Rice, should be sitting in front of the back four all day long against Bayern Munich in both games, and he hasn't. He left Jorginho in there on his own, who pretty much got steamrolled for the whole game. And I know Declan Rice pushing forward, wonderful, but the last two games he's played, he's been poor to say the least. So I'd like to see him sitting down there in front of Saliba and Gabriel, which again would nullify Kane when he's dropping into the pockets. Gives us more strength in that sort of area. So look, it's again, if anyone wants to beat Bayern Munich, they've got to put in a big performance. As I said, we're good enough to beat anybody, and I was surprised at how impressive Bayern Munich actually were the other night. Like, as you say, the two wingers, really good. But as Liam was saying, it's no tougher than getting a result away to Liverpool, away to City, away to Spurs. So we just have to have belief and go and put in a performance, give it 100%, and cut out the stupid errors. That's what's been killing us, and hopefully they will. And it will give us such a confidence boost for finishing off the rest of the league, and hopefully into a nice semi-final against Real Madrid.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, bring you back to the day where we went to the final all the way in 06. Yeah, it's a similar path to the final. Yeah, it's just, as you said, it's sadly the lack of European experience for a lot of these players, isn't it? Which we might just come a little bit short, but you have to hats off to them, for even getting to this stage of the competition. No one thought at the start of the season, we would have got to the quarterfinals. Just getting out of the group stage was an achievement, but with every game, you gain more and more experience, don't you? The more you play these bigger teams, the more strength they'll have mentally and everything that goes with it. It's been a busy show, lads. I'd like to thank Liam Gardner and Brandon Boyd for coming on this evening. Pleasure having you on, lads. Just like to give a shout out again to Pepsi, thirsty for more. Since their rebrand, first in 14 years. And also just a quick shout, like I mentioned at the start of the show, Elevate Events. They present an exclusive event featuring Liam Brady, Paul Merson and Ray Perler at the Clayton Hotel on Friday, August the 9th. Go to universe.com for tickets there. Will you be heading yourself, Brendan, to that in August?
I'm seriously considering it. I haven't picked up a ticket yet, but I dare say I might be there or thereabouts. Yourself?
Yeah, I've purchased the 53 ticket already. So, yeah, it's a bargain, isn't it? Like, to meet three legends in one night, you have to do it. Would you be tempted to come over yourself, Liam? See the?
I don't think I'll get away with it at the moment with the baby. But I went to one a couple of years ago near me. It was Alan Smith, Ray Parlour, and I think it was Perry Groves. Yeah, really, really good night. Get some really good stories as well. So the only thing that at that night I remember it was, I think it was 2018. We got knocked out by Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup that afternoon. So yeah, it wasn't the most greatest of evenings in terms of obviously Arsenal, but yeah, it was a really good night.
Yeah, we've had a few when we were in the Mercantile. We had Ray Parlour over. So that was a few years ago now, 2015, I think. But any of those legend nights, the stories they tell is great, isn't it? Like they're just like a normal Joe soap, aren't they, at the end of the day? You know, when you see them in person, that glamour has kind of gone off them and they just become one of you, don't they? Yeah. So Elevate events there. Really good to have them for 2 nights. 3 legends again, and obviously for ourselves here in Ireland, Liam Brady, old Chippy. Really good book as well he released there just before Christmas as well, so really good read as well. Our next podcast will be next Monday, hopefully reviewing a nice victory over Wolves and celebrating our path to the semi-final of the Champions League. North Bank Summit for Liam on Thursday evening. Really top podcast and really worth the listen. But until next Monday, thanks to Brendan and Liam, and have a good week. Come on, the Arsenal.
Cheers, guys.
Indeed.